Hi, so I'm here with Rafael Ramos of InMotion. He's a developer and he's been working on BoldGrid, which is something InMotion is debuting uh, soon. It's basically a solution. It's a page builder solution for WordPress, and we're going to talk to Rafael about BoldGrid and kind of what makes it different than the other page builder solutions you might have seen, and how it fits into the value that InMotion is offering to its customers. So, Rafael, hey, how's it going?
Doing well. I'm excited to talk to you about BoldGrid.
Yeah, for sure. So, can you tell me how long have you been at InMotion, and what's your just sort of general background?
Sure. I've been at InMotion for 3 years now. My background is in computer engineering, but I love coding. So I was drawn to everything PHP and JavaScript and making things change on the fly. I have a background in, I've coded anything from assembly language to games. So
Hmm.
my real passion, though, is web development and making things that tons of users can have at their fingertips.
Awesome, cool. So, can you just tell me a bit about BoldGrid, just for folks who haven't heard of it? Yeah, give me a little bit of background. How long has it been in development? And yeah, just give me this sort of quick rundown on BoldGrid.
Sure. So BoldGrid it's a website builder, just like you mentioned. It's been in development for about a year and a half now, almost 2 years, and it's really supposed to be an all-in-one solution to getting a user from their initial concept of what they want a website to be to their final product. So we're going to help the user, set up hosting through InMotion hosting and get their WordPress set up and running, install some plugins on there for them, and get them started with a theme and content and the images so that they have everything they can possibly need for their website. And all they have to really do after that is customize it to fit their specific needs.
Cool. Can you tell me a bit about the team that's working on BoldGrid? How many of you guys
Sure.
are on it? And yeah.
Sure. So we have 4 developers and 3 designers.
Mm.
And the developers range from people that have more of an experience in system administration, some support, and some people that are just really familiar with WordPress. And myself, I bring the just development portion and experience with, outside of WordPress development. And Our 3 designers, they come from our internal design department, where we used to provide, or we still do, we provide basically websites for users who they just want to get something custom done, but now they've tried to transition into how do we build themes for WordPress so that users can use them for our new website builder. Some of our team members have 6 or 7 years of experience just here at InMotion, and maybe 20 years plus at with just websites and just general technical abilities.
Gotcha. So I think you prepared kind of like a demo of BoldGrid, and we're going to do that through a screen share. Is that all set up?
Yeah, that's all ready. So I can go ahead and start screen sharing here. All right, can you see me okay?
Yeah, looks good.
All right, so one of the things that's worth noting about BoldGrid is that we try to stick to WordPress and the way it's presenting its UI as closely as possible. So the first thing you see when you load up here is, if you're familiar with WordPress, is that everything basically looks the same. So our plugin has added, here you'll see a screen for first-time users and experienced users, and just some simple steps to get you started. We've added a few new items to the admin menu, but I'm just going to go ahead and click Get Started to start the first inspirations phase. So what we refer to as inspirations is just getting a website up there and running. So that consists of getting a theme, any plugins, content. So it's actually specific to your category. and images specific to your category as well. So you don't have to go through and find out which plugins you need to get a gallery or to have forms or any of those things you would probably start digging around for if you were new to WordPress. We're just going to kind of set that all up for you. So I'm going to go ahead and install this new site as an active site. And here you'll see the selection of categories that I mentioned before. So I'll go ahead and choose real estate. And you'll be presented with some designs. So these are fully built sites. We've built them based on your category selection. And we're continuously building these based on any user's preferred setup.
So these are WordPress themes that your design team has put together that work specific to BoldGrid. Is that accurate?
Yes, but they can be used for any purpose, really. So they're just WordPress themes, and we've added content to them. So I can go ahead and show you a live preview here. So here we have one of our themes, and it's been loaded up with not only homepage content, but it can have up to 10 or so pages that are pre-populated with images specific to the real estate category that I chose, as well as market specific or real estate specific written content.
Cool.
Its intention is to try to give you a head start on writing some of this content. So here you'll see that we have a pre-configured gallery. So when you install this website design, you'll actually get a gallery plugin that will be already configured for you for this specific gallery or any other galleries that might appear on your page. And I can browse through some of the other pages here. We have an About Us page, some more written content for the real estate category. And finally, we have a Contact Us page that loads up a Contact Us or a Forms plugin, Ninja Forms, actually. So if you were to install this website, we would automatically install Ninja Forms. And we have quite a few pre-configured forms for you that you can, then this one will be pre-populated onto your Contact Us page. So I'll go back and browse through some more of the designs. We have about 14 themes that are introduced into the inspirations phase of BoldGrid. But you can have any theme you like in the WordPress repository by following your standard method of including new themes into your install. So,
gotcha. So an inspiration is not only a theme. Sorry, I hope I'm not feeding back in your machine. Am I?
No, that's fine.
Okay, cool. So an inspiration is not only a theme, but it's a theme with associated plugins and actual content and sort of image content as well. So it's kind of all that together as a package if you were to choose one of these things, and then you can kind of obviously customize from there.
Exactly. So we're trying to give you everything you need right up front and letting you customize it after the fact. It's really hard to create a website from a white canvas. So we want to give you your images, your backgrounds, give you an idea, and you can shape and mold this any way you like after the fact. So we're going to give you your menus all set where they need to go, your widgets. We're going to give you some predefined color palettes so you can switch between them, and tons of menu locations so you can move everything around. This is just the starting point. And it's definitely not just a theme, because you're going to have all this content. A lot of times when you use other themes, you'll preview them and you'll see, oh, well, this is just the starter template. But no, actually, we're going to give you this content, and it'll actually work for you. You can easily manage it, shape it, however you like. So I'll go ahead and select one of these to get started. And here again is where we can choose our different page sets. So if you want to have more pages included in your selection, we'll build you another set with 5 pages instead of the initial 3 that come in the standard page set. And it's basically just creating more images, more pages. And here you'll see the nav menu has 2 additional items for more pages. So I'll go ahead and preview it. And These will also have images that were dynamically added to your pages based on your category. And once I hit select, what it's actually going to do is going to grab all that information that you chose during your inspirations process and pull it right into your WordPress. So I'll install this website, and now it's downloading the themes, it's downloading all the images, it's saving that, it's downloading any plugins, it's creating the new pages that you needed, any posts that needed to be created, configuring your plugins, and that's it. It's done. So I'll hit ready to view, and you'll look at the front end of my site, and it's exactly what I saw in my inspirations phase.
Yeah.
So again, some of these builders, they might even show you a preview site that's a little bit different than what you actually received. So it's not only themes that are presenting something that's not WYSIWYG, but
Right.
web builders where you start editing stuff and they're just boxes with text in them, and you move them around, and it's not really what you're getting at when it's all said and done. So we pride ourselves in making everything WYSIWYG. So whenever we try to tackle a new feature, we insist that it looks exactly like what you're going to get. So we have our site here.
Yeah.
I'm going to go into the customizer. So for those of you not familiar with WordPress and their customizer, it's great, and we try to make use of it whenever we can. Here it's loading up on the tablet view. I'm going to bring this out a little bit so you can see the desktop view of the same site. And everything we've done, we've tried to stick to the WordPress UI. So we're not going to take you to a screen that you're not familiar with. If you're familiar with WordPress, we're going to use the customizer to manipulate any of these features, and we're going to try to keep it very simple. So the first thing you see is the site title and tagline, just like any other theme. And we've gone ahead and we've added a few new features to the customizer to make our themes a little bit more dynamic. Some of them I'm really excited about. The color palettes, for example. So when you were going through the inspirations phase, you might have seen that this exact same theme came in different colors. That's because we've configured a theme for a specific category to look a little bit differently. And this is based on, for example, this one was the background image. The designers chose to give a different presentation for this background image for its color palette. So some of our categories might have
Cool.
the white and blue and orange, or the green and black, but it goes a little bit further than that. Maybe when you're previewing some themes, they'll have 3 or 4 color palettes to choose from, and 2 or 3 things change on the page. But actually, we allow you to change any color palette you want and create one on the fly, or choose one from maybe 500 or so color palettes. So here I can just keep cycling through and create a custom color palette for whatever I desire. And it's not only the top of the page that changes, but your entire site and any content that you add will fit the color scheme that you choose here. So I can even customize an existing color palette. So say I wanted to make this red. If that's one of my branding colors, I can just go ahead and change any of the colors that I like to be red. So it's more than just choosing, well, I want the headings to be red, or I want one element to be red. These are grouped together by our designers so that when you make as little as 2 or 3 choices, your entire site changes, and you don't have to spend hours digging through and setting every element to match a color or what have you.
Yeah.
You can quickly switch between any color palette you like. So this is a feature that's supported by all of our BoldGrid themes. Additionally, we've added things like parallax for your background, and we've maybe we reworded some things and added a few new features for positioning your background, or added patterns and colors, and everything is based on a theme framework. So that means that whenever we come up with a new theme, you won't have to wait for these new features to be available for that theme. They're already included, and it's just growing. So we've added.
So with any of your themes that you've developed sort of for BoldGrid, all this stuff is compatible.
Exactly. And we're creating up to 4 new themes every month. So it's just going to keep growing. So we have about 14 themes that you can choose from, but it like I said, it's more than that, because you're choosing from different content designs, and they all have these rich features where you can strip it out and mold it into whatever you want. So this is just the starter for you, and it'll have every single feature, and these features are going to grow immensely over time. We have a standard for, we have social media menus that must come in all themes, and they must be configured. So these are all standard features with a BoldGrid theme that you might not receive when using some third-party theme that's specific to one purpose.
Yeah,
ours are very flexible.
Gotcha.
We've even included here. You'll see the Black Studio Tiny MCE editor.
Yeah.
So that's been loaded up, and you'll see the changes appear instantly, and it's just one of those other things that you might be looking for if after a while of digging into how do I actually change this area of text that's not inside of my content, and you'll eventually come to the conclusion that maybe a widget with a custom plugin that allows you to modify those things is the solution, but we've already packaged that up for you. We've already configured it, and we just make it as simple as edit the text on through the customizer.
Hey, I haven't heard, it's a TinyMC editor plugin that I don't think I've heard of. Could you just say the name again and tell me a little bit about it?
Sure. The plugin that we're using here is called TinyMCE Black Studio. What it does is it's based on TinyMCE, the visual editor, and it brings that into the customizer, specifically widgets. So it allows you to add new widgets. So here you'll see the visual editor widget that are based on HTML, and it'll output the visual representation. If you're used to the WordPress page and post editor, this is exactly what it's based on. So it takes that same implementation and throws it in here into the customizer, and it's incredibly useful, even if you're not so used to modifying markup, because it creates that markup for you on the fly, and it's incredibly useful. And we use it for our call to action, this area up here where it says I make it our business, as well as our footer where you can modify your contact information.
That's really cool. Yeah, in retrospect, being able to do sort of rich text editing in the customizer is a really, really cool thing. That's really cool to learn about that. I'd never known that existed. That's really cool. Yeah. So here's advanced.
Yeah, we added more features to the advanced. For example, adding more widget areas. We know customers want to download third-party plugins, and they want places to put these new widget types. And we know that WordPress provides a dozen or so widgets, and we wanted to make sure that the customer can have as many widget areas as they feel. So to better satisfy a novice user who may not be used to seeing so many widgets in their widgets panel, we gave a configuration option for how many widgets areas you'd like to see on your page. So we're trying to satisfy the technical user as well as the novice user. So some of the times you'll see some explanations on how to do more simple things, but it's a very powerful tool. You can have on any theme up to 12 widget areas where you can reconfigure those to your liking. So And in the advanced panel as well, you'll see a place where you can add your own custom HTML if you're used to that, as well as custom JavaScript and CSS. So you can go ahead and customize anything you like. It's not only limited to, you know, the colors that you have through the color palettes, but you can go ahead and add your own stuff if you're advanced enough. Yeah. And this is great because you don't have to go through and modify the theme, which then might not work so well when you try to update it. Sure. You can just add a few lines of code in there if you're familiar with it. And if you're familiar with Kirky, that's where a lot of our controls are actually, our customizer controls are actually based off of. So our themes come with Kirky to provide some of the ease of use of these customizer controls. And Kirky is just another WordPress plugin for developers to create easy and intuitive controls to the customizer.
So yeah, you guys have really kind of gone for the customizer experience that, you know, has been an emphasis in WordPress over about probably, I'd say, the past year, as opposed to like a kind of back-end theme options interface. And I think you sort of already have, but maybe you could talk about the advantages of that relative to the way that it used to be, say, 2 or 3 years ago to edit a theme.
Well, the primary advantage is that we're kind of on the cutting edge, right? They're continuously releasing updates for the customizer, and we want to take advantage of those. Everything seems to be moving into that direction because it's so much easier to actually modify the content through the customizer. Mm-hmm. So we're adding our own experience to the customizer at the same time that WordPress is adding their experience. Yeah. So combined within, you know, the coming months and perhaps year, you'll see an enormous growth in the amount of or the ability to customize your site through one interface. And the future of BoldGrid is to provide a full front-end editing solution. So this helps move us and get us closer to that goal of, you know, changing your content around and moving your menus around all through one interface. And we feel that the customizer is definitely the solution. And we've even started to work on WordPress core tickets to help that experience directly and give back to the open source community.
Hey, could we look at the page and post editing experience?
Definitely.
So here we are in the visual editor of the main page editing TinyMC window, and it's WYSIWYG relative to what you may be used to seeing in this TinyMC window, I think.
Definitely. Let me visit a page that's a little bit more rich in content. So I'm going to go to the home page, and the first thing you'll notice is that TinyMCE and WordPress, they've given theme developers the ability to make this page WYSIWYG. A lot of theme developers choose not to do that. It is quite a bit of work, but our theme developers are making a big effort to make sure that, first of all, that happens, so that as soon as you land on this page, you're editing content that looks exactly like the home page. Additionally, we've given you functionality to drag and drop your content with it still being WYSIWYG. So you have an interface to manage the content on top of the fact that it's already WYSIWYG. So comparatively to other just website builders, that's you might expect to get a WYSIWYG experience, but within WordPress, that's not so common to actually get it within your standard workflow. You don't have to learn to use a set of new tools. A lot of this stuff is very intuitive because you're used to using it. And immediately you'll see a few drag handles and popovers, and those allow you to actually drag the content around. So here I'm dragging one of our content elements, content elements, and you'll see that it's as simple as dragging it into the place that you'd like and dropping. So something that you might be familiar with any tool, and as well as resizing of columns. So you can transform the width of any of the columns by hovering over the divider between two of them and reshaping it.
Yeah, and maybe we could flip over to the text view and look at the markup that's outputted, because with other page builders, basically it's a lot of short codes that you would actually see outputted as a markup. But this is this is markup. This is HTML, right?
Yes, this is we don't really restrict our designers in what they can do for the tool. They create themes just as anybody would. They create the pages just as you would using WordPress, and you yourself can create new pages that still work within the tool by either using markup and as you would, or with the visual editor and just typing in new lines and paragraphs, and the tool will mold to whatever you've added in there. So this is not cluttered with short codes that if you delete them, your entire page breaks. Or it's so convoluted that you can't actually modify the markup. I can easily see here that this is the for sale sign that appears on the page, and if I switch back to the visual tab, you'll see that I deleted the for.
The word, yeah. So it's pretty cool. I mean, I already said this, but the two things that stand out here are that you've got basically a WYSIWYG experience inside the WordPress post editor, which is something that the visual editor, which I don't believe I've seen in the past. And when you look at the markup that it outputs, it's not a sort of incomprehensible mess of shortcodes, like sort of the not to name names, but the WP Bakery Visual Composer. Am I saying its name right? It has a pretty powerful editing experience, but the experience of going into the text editor and trying to see why something's not working is basically getting hit with a wall of shortcodes and not being able to manage. So it's really cool, both in terms of the WYSIWYG experience it's delivering and the relative cleanliness of the markup it's actually outputting. So those were really the things that jumped out to me when I tried this. It's like I did not know really that it was possible to make the WordPress visual editor WYSIWYG to this extent while preserving relatively clean markup in terms of what's actually generating the page.
Yeah, definitely. We didn't know that either, but we definitely tried to set out to accomplish it, and I think we did a very good job.
Yeah, so can you tell me a bit, is this a plugin that's sort of interacting with the contents of the visual editor through JavaScript? Is that basically the new technology here?
So TinyMCE is doing quite a bit to actually manage TinyMCE in conjunction with WordPress to manage what you actually type on the keyboard to what actually happens when you see a visual change. And in order to allow the user to drag and drop as they would expect, we've integrated with not only WordPress's API that interacts with TinyMCE's API, but TinyMCE's API directly. And we've created another system for managing the drag and drop ability so that it works within your standard HTML page. So yeah, there's quite a bit of JavaScript going on to manage where you actually drop those things and really replicating what we feel the experience, what the user expects when they drag something from the left to the right or something.
As an idle question, is that something that you could sort of publish back out to maybe a standalone WordPress plugin, or to maybe a feature plugin where it could get worked into core, or is it tightly integrated with the other things that you're doing with BoldGrid? Because it's really cool. I mean, it's a real improvement to the visual editor.
Definitely, and we've kind of broken out our plugins and our features into different sections for that specific purpose. So this here, what you're seeing is the BoldGrid editor plugin. And this provides you the TinyMCE ability to drag content around. It's not reliant on the BoldGrid inspirations process or the BoldGrid content. You can create your own content and it'll work with the BoldGrid editor tool.
Mm.
It provides mobile responsiveness and
Yeah,
you
cool.
can snap down and modify it, and all this stuff is available with the BoldGrid editor plugin, and we intend to put that back out there into the WordPress repo so that people that don't necessarily need the BoldGrid inspirations process can make use of it.
That's really cool. That's really cool. That's amazing. Yeah, what else demo-wise would you like to show off? And then I've got some just general questions about BoldGrid. But yeah, what else would you like to demo?
Sure. I can briefly run through some of the other cool features within BoldGrid. So here, if I open up my media library, I have the images that were installed through the inspirations process, but I can also search through Flickr and Fotolia for additional images. So
Cool.
we created a search system so that you don't have to look out for search for images and find out what type of attribution you need.
Cool.
We've taken care of that. So you can just create a search and drop something in there. And
is this another plugin you might be able to break out? Because this is so cool. That's a great idea, and it feels like it would work as a standalone.
This one is part of the BoldGrid Inspirations plugin.
Gotcha.
Because it works with APIs, and it handles communicating back and forth from our servers to make sure that the attribution is handled and
gotcha. Sure. Gotcha.
Is
That's really, really cool. So yeah, for the attribution stuff, that I saw that checkbox there. It basically is filtering, hey, only pull Flickr images that are basically labeled for reuse with attribution. Is that right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So basically, if you keep that checkbox checked, as long as you say who the photo is from, you can use it kind of for whatever you need in terms of like the licensing. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's right. You can get these here with the icon for Creative Commons. Those are the ones that just require the attribution. Some purchasing.
Okay, so tell me about this coin system, because I saw that earlier.
So if you are signed up through through InMotion Hosting, the official reseller for BoldGrid, you can purchase coins through your AMP and InMotion Hosting account. With those coins, then you can purchase any of these Fotolia pictures or any coin assets, essentially. So here I see that I have an image for 6 coins, and it'll just deduct it from your number of coins that you purchased through InMotion Hosting. So right through your InMotion Hosting account, you can purchase your coins to buy images or whatever other assets we provide. Gotcha.
And then you guys, so basically you purchase the image asset directly from Fotolia, and then the user purchases it with coins, and so you basically manage that. You kind of intermediate that transaction, you being InMotion.
Exactly. So we took out the part where you have to go to Fotolia and
sign up and give your credit card information and download the thing to your desktop, then upload it to WordPress.
Yeah, it's all done. Yeah. It's pretty convenient.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as using WordPress. I mean, we just added a new tab there, and you're familiar with searching, and you just drop it in.
Right. Yeah. That's really cool.
We have a staging system where if you have an existing site and you don't want to change any of its existing appearance, you can install this new BoldGrid site into staging. I'm going to go ahead and start over to remove my existing site. And if I go back into the inspirations phase, I kind of skipped over this, but you can actually install into staging. So if you think of it, there's essentially 2 ways to install your site. You can overwrite your active site, which is just your standard installation. But we have a staging plugin, which allows you to put content somewhere else temporarily, like a development environment, while you work on putting it up to par with your active site, and then you can just quickly switch it over. So I'll choose another category, and it's going to basically override a lot of the settings while you're managing this particular staging site. So if you go into the customizer and you make any changes, it's gonna say, oh, hey, don't modify my active site. Instead, modify my staging site. And this is one of the more clever things that our developers have accomplished is how do you overwrite the way WordPress is actually handling some of this stuff so that we can simulate a development environment without actually having to create a new WordPress multi-site. We're doing it all within your standard installation.
No kidding. So it's a subdirectory inside your install, or?
It's not. That's the clever thing about it is all it does is manage the way that your WordPress saves settings. So it's basically the option table, but everything has a staging version. So you can go through and delete pages and make odd configurations just to test them out. But it's just your staging. So we're not messing with your WordPress directory or any of your file systems. It's still your standard installation. We're not creating any additional tables. It's just a copy of your existing settings. And when you're all done, it's as simple as going into deploy staging and launch staging. It swaps everything that it did from the staging to active. And if you go back to your active site, this is now live and published, and it's active. It's good to go. And you can do this with anything. And it's a standalone plugin that'll work with any existing content. It doesn't have to be a BoldGrid.
Oh, that's cool. So
inspiration.
You'll have to be a little bit patient while I sort of thrash around with this idea. I'm trying to think, like, is it a sort of a piece of post meta that says, oh yeah, well, this version of the post corresponds to the staging site? Or I'm just trying to think how you kind of keep like a ghost staging environment in a single, WordPress database, single file system, etc. Like how would I have two, like a live and a staging version of a site that are quite different, all stored in the same database in the same file system? Is it through post meta, or I don't know? That question might be too general.
Well, it's session based, so you're working on your staging site. Well, we're going to modify the way WordPress saves that setting. So we make sure that it's stored as a staging setting. You can only have one staging site at a time. So it's basically, the Boolean of whether this is.
Gotcha. So that's stored in something like a cookie as you're using your site. And basically that cookie just flips between save this to staging and save this to live.
Exactly. So,
that's cool.
And sometimes we handle it a little bit differently. If we know that this is maybe the customizer and you've clicked on modifying your staging theme, then that's stored maybe in a session variable or a class configuration. So we tied into one of the earlier hooks in WordPress and stored a setting. And now everything else that we've created, even if it's the editor plugin that you're modifying, will know that it's staging and reroute the queries to pull options so that it's instead pulling from the staging options.
Gotcha.
So
okay, gotcha.
By simply intervening early on in WordPress's load, it really simulates and catches a lot of those other scenarios where even third-party plugins can have their options stored
for staging and for active.
Exactly.
Yeah, gotcha. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, maybe maybe we could turn the screen share off unless there's any other amazing stuff to show. I'm sure there is, but
yeah, there's tons of stuff. We worked very hard on this.
Yeah.
And our development cycle was fairly rapid. So, and it's still continuing to grow. That's the most important part. So yeah, I could probably go on demoing for quite some time. Just
right.
in Post Editor alone, there's a lot of features for manipulating your content very quickly. But the best way to learn about it is to check it out. It's available now. We actually launched in mid-November. So you can go to InMotion Hosting today and grab a BoldGrid API key, and they'll set you up with a BoldGrid installation that you can be using in minutes.
So where is it in the interface, in the AMP interface?
And the AMP interface, that's a good question. I'm familiar with it from going through the external order process. We have links for BoldGrid for new users.
Mm.
I believe there's an additional section for existing users, but you'll have to dig around.
Okay. I'll check that out. No worries. Yeah, you're. It makes sense that you don't spend a lot of time in the I'm an InMotion customer kind of thing. So I'll definitely check that out.
Definitely a developer.
Yeah.
Heads down into BoldGrid and creating all these.
Yeah. Well, I just thought as an interesting question, just to know how you guys think about it. I mean, it feels like the stuff that I spent the most time with was the post editor, and I was like, oh, this is sort of like, again, Visual Composer, but more tightly integrated into WordPress, more WYSIWYG with cleaner markup. So I was thinking, oh, BoldGrid is sort of a page builder, an entrance into the page builder space. And then sort of the demo you gave me today is sort of like, oh, BoldGrid is kind of almost like a Squarespace or basically sort of a full-fledged solution, kind of like Squarespace or Wix, would tend to be. So I just thought I'd ask, how you guys see yourselves in terms of what are you offering the market, and who are the other people that that the BoldGrid is competing with? Because at first I thought it was a page builder. Now I think it's like Squarespace, and I'm just curious how you guys think about that.
That's from the people actually working on the product. I mean, we want this to be the next amazing thing. Yes, we want to compete with Wix and Squarespace and Weebly and make sure that we have every base covered. So we have designers that are just creating these themes that are going to compete with any other theme designer or theme developer, as well as creating back-end features like the staging plugin and page editors like the BoldGrid editor and customizer-rich features that compete with something like a Squarespace where you can just drop any widget in there. And these are the coming steps for the BoldGrid suite of plugins, is that we can do absolutely everything. And at InMotion Hosting, we'll even host it for you as well.
Right. Well, Rafael, is there anything else you'd like to say about BoldGrid? It's really cool to hear you talk about this. I mean, there's a lot of passion, and I can't imagine how much hard work and that has gone into this, and it's looking really cool. There's a lot about it that's really innovative, and just there's a few things where I'm like, I did not know that was possible, and now it's obviously possible because I just saw it. So I'm just curious if there's anything else you want to say before we wrap up.
Well, I definitely like to appeal to the developers watching this video. We'll be, opening up the ability for theme designers to contribute to the BoldGrid system, have your elegant design brought in, and we can present it to right through the inspirations phase. We'll be putting out all of our repositories on GitHub pretty soon in the coming month, March 2016, so that anybody can go ahead, look through our code, contribute anything you like. If you find something in the BoldGrid editor that you'd like to see added, you can go ahead and do that, and we'll pull it on in. So we have a theme framework that we're currently developing. That's what's added to every single one of our themes. We're going to put that on the GitHub repo too, and you can even use that as a standalone framework. So if you want to spin up a new theme with every single one of these features, you can just drop in the framework into one of or a simple theme. I think we'll have a getting started theme similar to the underscores theme that you might receive, but with additional BoldGrid functionality. And all you have to do is reconfigure it. We provide detailed configuration outlines on boldgrid.com/docs so that you can go through and configure a new theme. So if you're somebody just trying to spin up quick sites, or quick themes, you can use the BoldGrid theme framework and what we've set up for our internal designers to make your own stuff. And it doesn't even need to be part of the BoldGrid system. You can just use our code. It's all open source, and we're definitely willing to give back to the community.
Rafael, cool. It's great to talk to you, and thanks so much for this demo. This is really awesome. That's probably the right word. That word gets thrown around a lot, but really, I think this is a really awesome thing you guys are doing.
Thank you for giving us the time. We're just developers, and we're all excited to create cool new stuff that everybody enjoys.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're just excited to be part of, the future of website builders.
Rafael, thank you so much. Great to talk to you.
Thank you. Likewise.